I'm Dr. Yvonne Cason, the president of Spiritual Awakenings International, and I welcome you to our SAI Presents event. We're delighted at how Spiritual Awakenings International has grown, and we're now in 114 countries around the world. So please take a moment and enter into the chat where it is you're joining us from today. I'm joining you from Toronto, Canada. Our speaker today is from Washington State in the United States. I know we have people in the audience from all across the US, all across Canada, Poland, Germany. I see that. Wow. Welcome, everyone. So it is my great pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Wendy Rose Williams. Wendy had two near-death experiences when she was pregnant, and she met her angels in both of these NDEs. Later, Wendy met her soulmate, who she believes her soul had contracted with to wake her up spiritually. This led Wendy to explore past lives and Michael Newton's book, Journey of Souls. Today, Wendy is a past life energy healer. She helps people release the energy from the past that no longer serves them. With that, I turn it over to Wendy Rose Williams.
Well, thank you so much, Yvonne. Let me just share my screen here with everyone. All right. So I really appreciate everyone being here for this intriguing topic that's really close to my heart, and you will find out why. So I had an incredible STE, spiritually transformative experience that started as a dream when I was 28, which was my first Saturn return, when things can really shift and change for us. I was a newlywed. It was February of 1990, and my husband and I had the good fortune to purchase this lovely colonial in Boxford, Massachusetts, which is about an hour north of Boston. And my husband was traveling extensively on business. And what happened, one of the first nights that he was gone, we had just been moved in for a couple of weeks. And I had this vivid dream. And what was occurring in the dream was I could see I was on my same property, but I knew it was earlier in time. It's like the trees were much smaller and time was just rolling back. No house there. I could see a large rock and just this heartbroken young woman from colonial America, that distinctive little white apron and white kerchief. And she was climbing up this rock and she kept looking toward the east. And she was just so yearning and so heartbroken, waiting for her beloved to appear, to come over the water and then break through the trees. But he wasn't coming. So she didn't know what to do. She was just really, really stuck. So I'm having this dream. It's turning lucid. I'm trying to interact with her. I'm trying to help her. And right at the stroke of midnight, I can see the time on the digital clock. I woke up and it just became terrifying. It was one of the most frightening experiences of my life because I could hear footsteps coming up the stairs inside my house. I'm now back in my house. I am alone. There's no phone in the room. The door is closed, but there's no lock on it. And I'm alone. I don't have any self-defense weapon. And our lots were quite large. It's 2-acre minimum in Boxford. So you can be really quite a distance from neighbors. So I am petrified. And as I hear these footsteps coming up the stairs, all I can think of to do is to just as quietly as I can get out of the bed, and I grabbed a straight chair and I shoved it under the doorknob to try and keep the door closed in case this person was going to break into my bedroom. So heart pounding, that is what I did. And then I just held it like that for a couple of minutes. And then I'm just listening and listening, and I don't hear anything. So I don't understand what's going on. Is the person still up on the second floor? What's going on? So obviously I can't just go back to bed. I've got to check the house and I've got to get to a phone. So I stepped out into the landing and I've got the chair with me, prepared to swing that chair if I have to, and to get into a phone and barricade myself in another room to call 911. Um, and instead, the minute I step out into the upstairs landing, I can just feel the house feels lovely. It's just peaceful. There's no one else in the house but me. So I'm really puzzled because I heard those footsteps as clear as day. So I go around the entire house, double check everything is fine. There's no broken window. The doors are all locked. Everything's fine. I flipped on the outside lights, the floodlights, and was a fresh snow, Boston, February, and there's no footsteps or no footprints in the snow. So I'm just really puzzled, but I just go back to bed and try and sleep, just a really uncomfortable night's sleep. And the next morning when I get to work, the first thing I do is call a locksmith. And I asked him if he could put his best lock on my bedroom door for me. And he graciously agreed and met me right after work that night and did that. So that next night after this first occurred, I go back to bed just feeling a lot more comfortable. I've got this great lock, and whatever that weird experience was, I'm just gonna just let it go to the best of my ability. So that next night, I'm having the same dream again, and it again becomes lucid and then becomes a fully awake experience, spiritually transformative experience. So this time I'm not so scared because I've got the lock there. I've already been through this once. And I just try to tune into this ghost because clearly there is a ghost on my property and she's just so heartbroken, as I mentioned. So I'm trying to communicate with her, ask her what's wrong, ask her what she needs. I just feel so badly for her. She looks quite young. I get the sense of like late teens, and but she can't hear me. So I don't know what to do. Again, it's 1990. I am not spiritually awake. I'm a Christian. I'm an MBA. Same for my husband. And it just if you had asked me at that time, did I believe in ghosts? I would have said, no, that's just really fanciful. But your belief system has to change when you've got a direct experience. And this was clearly a ghost on the property that was stuck. So my husband comes home from his trip a few days later, notices the lock and asks me, what's up with that? And I tried to tell him over dinner to have the conversation and explain what was happening, but it just didn't land with him. I mean, he was kind. He's a very kind man. He was supportive, but just his response was, Wendy, there's no such thing as ghosts. You must be feeling more anxious than you realize because you're home alone, so much in this big house, and we've just moved in, and big property, and I'm traveling extensively, so we're just gonna need to figure this out. So that was the end of it. He and I never spoke about it again. And I tried the same conversation with my mother, who also lived in the Boston area with us, and just same response. Wendy, there's no such thing as ghosts. You've got an issue with anxiety. You need to figure it out. So I didn't know who to go to for help. It just wasn't a time period, and I didn't have the knowledge or the resources to be able to. I didn't know there was such a thing as spiritual teachers. I didn't know there were psychic healers, and you couldn't Google and search the internet, the same way that you can now for such helpful resources like Spiritual Awakenings International. You just didn't have the same, things available to you. What did help me after a short time period was we love to entertain. Boston is a great city. We had this good fortune to have this big home. So we had lots of different visitors from out of town, come stay with us for the weekend or longer. One of the first ones was my cousin came out from Philly with her husband. And when I asked her my good hostess questions the next morning, how'd you sleep? Do you have enough blankets? Do you need any more towels? She took me aside privately and said, Wendy, I had the most vivid dream last night. And did you know that you've got a heartbroken young colonial American woman stuck on your property and she's waiting for her beloved and he's not coming, so she doesn't know what to do? And my jaw was just on the floor because I had certainly not mentioned this to her. I knew my husband hadn't, I knew my mother hadn't. And here she's having the same experience, the dream that wakes her up, and then it just continues. And the details, they just matched so perfectly. So she and I talked it over, and she didn't have any ideas what to do either. She said, I wanted to help her, but I didn't know how. She's a social worker and just, this very, very kind person. And also, wanted to, like me, wanted to be in action and wanted to help, but we just couldn't figure out what to do. We lived in the home for 3.5 years. Two more guests stayed with us, and same thing. That after they'd been in the house, and I asked them how they sleep and did they need anything. Same thing. Said, well, Wendy, I don't know if you know this, but and then they would go through the same description and experience. So this helped me a lot because clearly this is not me creating some weird thing via anxiety. This is not me having stress dreams. It's very real because other people are experiencing it too. And again, just, super well-grounded people. But none of us knew what to do. The next big thing that happens is we choose to relocate out to the Seattle area. So we're going to move across the country. And I so wanted to help this ghost and help this young woman before we moved, but I couldn't figure out what to do. I continued to have that same dream and experience the entire 3.5 years that we lived there. But when we moved, I thought, well, that was some odd experience I just can't explain and it's specific to that property. So I just tried to forget about it because there didn't seem to be anything I could do to help. So what came up next was 20 years later. I had woken up spiritually via the two 1997 near-death experiences that Yvonne mentioned when I was pregnant and meeting my angels. And in 2010, I had a soulmate reunion with a soulmate who had the soul contract agreements that we make before we incarnate into this life, areas where we want to progress and move forward. So we make these agreements to work on things together. And his first contract with me was to wake me up spiritually. So that had happened. And then in February of 2013, so we moved in 93, I had again never mentioned to anyone out in Seattle what the experiences had been with the ghost. And a coworker, good friend, one of my best friends, calls me and says, "Are you sitting down?" And my response was, "Well, I am now." And I at that point had the privilege and the good fortune. I am very clairaudient. That's my strongest psychic clair. I can hear my guides, my higher self, angels, ascended masters, God very clearly. And I'm just so grateful for that. And they said, deep truth, just breathe, just listen to what she's going to tell you. You're now going to understand what happened, is happening with that ghost, and you're going to be able to help her. So wonderful. So glad to hear this. So what my friend shared with me was she'd gone to the bookstore. She tried to buy the latest Brian Weiss title. Instead, a book had fallen off the bookshelf onto her feet to her surprise for no apparent reason. And she reached down to pick it up and she tried to put it back on the bookshelf in the store. And she said it was like it was glued to her hands. And that book was called Sacred Space by Denise Lynn. So she knew she was meant to buy it. I mean, it was just really apparent to her. So she purchased it, got home, tried to lay it down on the kitchen counter. Same thing. It's just like, you need to read this now. So she skimmed through the chapter headings and she was drawn to the chapter on how to clear your home of a ghost. So she's explaining this to me on the phone. And she read that chapter with some puzzlement, thinking, I don't have any energy issues in my home. I clear my home regularly, etc. She was a new Reiki master, so she understood some of these concepts. As I said, we both had been waking up spiritually. And what happened next for her was she went to bed after having read that chapter and not understanding what it was about. A few nights later, her dog wakes her up right at midnight by just staring at her. You know how an animal can wake you up when they're next to the side of your bed or on your bed, just looking at you. So her dog wakes her up and she thought, oh gosh, she must need to go to the bathroom. I better get her outside. And she's trying to be quiet without waking the family and to get her pup out. And the pup, when she opened the slider to go in the backyard, surprised her and doubled back, ran into the family room and just started barking wildly, like looking up at the ceiling. So my friend is looking up thinking, oh gosh, is there a bird got in here? Is there a bat in the house? What's going on? Instead, she sees this specter, this heartbroken young ghost just flying around her ceiling in her family room. And she said the heartbreak was so strong, she almost felt like she was being sucked into it. And then what she said, and I knew in that moment just what she was going to say. She said, Wendy, that ghost is you. And you need to clear this up. You need to take care of business. Because I worked and worked. I used all the techniques I learned from reading Sacred Space. That's why I needed that book. And I spoke kindly but firmly to the ghost. I told her she didn't have a body. She didn't have permission to be in my house. She needed to leave immediately and to go outside and to go on up to the light, and she would be helped. And it took me, my friend's explaining, it took me about half an hour to get her out of the house because she's heartbroken. She's confused. She's angry. She's stubborn. And again, this is you. So I'm just apologizing to her. It's like, what is the etiquette for this? Just so sorry. I woke you up in the middle of the night and gave you just this experience. And thank you so much for telling me. And just, we concluded the phone call with her, saying, I'm here for you. Just tell me anything I can do to help you, but you've got to take care of business. And we just started, and we'd never had a conversation like this before, but we just started finishing each other's sentences going, oh my gosh, we have a shared past life at Plymouth Plantation in what's now Massachusetts. We were in Colonial America together. We lived next door to each other. We were best friends for a lifetime. That's why my ghost went to her for help. And we were in the trading post together. We ran the trading post together. So we're just this past life is coming through to just let me take care of business with this now that I know this is my own ghost. I did not know that was a thing. I did not know you could be here twice in that manner. I knew that we incarnate with a portion of our energy, but I didn't realize that we could have just these aspects of ourselves that have become earthbound and are just very low vibration and just very stuck. So again, it was just an amazing breakthrough to know about this and have these details coming through. So the next major help that came to me was in the form of an intuitive artist. I had the good fortune to be invited to a love and light party where there would be a psychic artist who had the spiritual gift of drawing people in a past life. It might be yourself in that past life. It might be someone else that was in that life with you. It might be a spirit guide. So this was amazing to me. This sounded so appealing. So I went with a friend to this party. There were about 20 people there. And I sat down with the intuitive artist. She didn't want to know any information, just permission. Could she help? Could she help you? And she just, called on guides and on God to just help assist with whatever energy needed to be healed and released, or insights that needed to come through. She just sketched very quickly, because there were long line of people waiting to have their moment to be sketched, and she just wrote down a few words, like a mini reading, and then shared that with me. And the minute she turned her sketch pad around and showed me, I knew exactly who it was. And I was looking at myself from that colonial American life, and I just burst into tears, because it was just so moving to get to see myself and what I had looked like in that lifetime. And I really knew it was going to help me be able to help myself from the past, and help this ghost process whatever stuck energy and heartbreak she had. So the intuitive artist told me that she had a Facebook page, and I was welcome to friend her. And she explained that she didn't only do these drawings one-on-one when she was sitting with someone, but that they just came to her all the time. And when she didn't know who the sketch was for, she would just put it on her Facebook page. So she said, just, you're welcome to friend me, and perhaps there'll be another drawing for you in the future that you might recognize. There ended up being a series of 4 past life sketches, and she'd never done so many for one person from one lifetime, but it was just showing how stuck I was then and there. And it was really, really so helpful to me. The next breakthrough was I had dinner with my now former boyfriend, the soulmate who'd woken me up in 2010. We had dated for over a year exclusively. I fell in love, and he ended the relationship. And so I felt a lot of heartbreak from that. But so I just wanted to heal from that, just move on, just let it go, let it be. Instead, we kept running into each other. It became ridiculous how many times we met and met again. And so I knew that was just the guides trying to show you still have things to work on together. You still have things to learn together and to process through. In the 8 years that we knew each other, we found we had 21 shared lives together and 3 key soul contracts in this lifetime, which we had not completed when we broke up. So that's why we kept meeting. So we became spiritual seekers together, and would see each other occasionally, meet for coffee, lunch, dinner, whatever. And he had been traveling. He's a big world traveler, and had not seen each other in several months. So I had been really working on the puzzle of this lifetime and how to get my ghost to go to the light. So we met for dinner at a Mexican restaurant in the Seattle area, and I'm filling him in on this. And he's asking me to tell me about the journey, what it was like coming over on that ship across the Atlantic. It was not a comfortable or easy journey. It was months, and we're on cargo ships. We're down in the hold. So, there's no bathrooms, there's no beds. It's just, and the pitch and the fro. So I'm just describing this to him at dinner. And he looked at me, he says, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been a sea captain many times. And then the penny drops, and I'm like, there it is, right in front of me. This is why my ghost is so heartbroken. So he was the sea captain who brought me over to Plymouth in 1623. And recognizing that, it's like, okay, now I'm getting somewhere to be able to help her, to help myself to solve this mystery. And what do he and I need to clean up? I needed to forgive him for whatever had transpired. And I needed to forgive myself. And he also needed to forgive me, because 21 shared lives together is a lot. I mean, there were many wonderful, amazing memories we both had from it, but there also had been 6 marriages and just a lot of complexity to it. So Lori, the intuitive artist, had posted, and it came right up in my feed a few days after I met her. This sketch came up, and I looked at it, and she'd posted this cryptic clue, and said, this person, this sketch of this person, he's very well known. A lot of people may want to claim the sketch. And I'm to give it to the person who knows who Wayne was to this man. So I just sat and meditated and asked my guides, it's like, I know this man. And who was Wayne to him? And they said, clear as day, Wayne was a sea captain in colonial American times, and he was William Pierce's older brother. You're looking at Captain William Pierce, the ferryman of the North Atlantic. He was named that for having brought over the most successful number of passengers, 250 plus voyages to the New World, which was just unheard of people, and also bringing over supplies and cargo. And as I'm looking at the sketch and sitting there at dinner with my boyfriend, I'd already known the sketch was him, but I did not know, until I'm putting these pieces together with them there in person of, what the name was, and that it was William Pierce who had broken my heart in that lifetime. So we're just sharing this information, and he was so kind. He's really helping me put the pieces together. He'd been a journalist. He was just the perfect person to say, okay, we need to figure this out. We need to figure this out because I want to help you. I want to take care of this because this is affecting both of us. And let's get this figured out. Another thing that was critical that happened during that dinner as we sat there for hours, um, was I could hear my grandfather come in, and again, just so appreciate that clairvoyance. And I could see him. He was showing me this scene of he'd gotten really into genealogy when I was in high school, late high school, first starting college. So 79, 1980. And I remembered him taking me aside, and he was showing me this scene of us out on his sun porch where he and my grandmother had retired to in Florida. And it was just the two of us. And he'd said to me, really earnestly, Annie, you need to always remember we came over on the Mayflower ships. So I just kind of looked at him, and I wasn't really into genealogy, but I love my grandfather. So I'm just nodding, and I'm appreciating him reminding me of this because it's now 2013. And also, he'd called me Annie. My mother's name is Elizabeth Anna, and that was his childhood nickname for her, was he'd call her Annie for her middle name. And at the time, I just thought, oh, he's just calling me by the wrong name. He's calling by my mom's name. No big deal. So, but this was also coming in, just helping with the puzzle pieces of that lifetime. I would learn over time that my father was Richard Warren. This is the original Mayflower passengers in 1620. He came over alone because it was very dangerous. There's no shelter. What are they getting into? They've got to learn how to grow food, figure out how to forage, etc. So there were not that many wives and children along. It was a lot of men, some families too. My father actually helped write the Mayflower Compact aboard the ship before they got out and started the colony at Plymouth Plantation. And it was established with just and equal laws for Plymouth colony's greater good. Those 200 words became a landmark self-governance document and social contract. The reason I'm bringing this up, I think we are at a pivotal time in Earth's history when many of our governments are changing. We're seeing so much corruption, so many issues. There's just such a distrust in so many countries. And I think we're moving into a place where we may be called upon to be more helping our neighbors more directly, be doing more self-governance. And we've done it before. We can absolutely do it again. So that is why I'm bringing up these details. Two more Plymouth past life sketches came through from Lori. Here's my best friend, Abby, who is my next door neighbor and trading post partner. And I showed it to her. in this lifetime. And she just, her jaw was on the floor. She's like, how did you get that sketch of me from Plymouth? So she recognized it immediately, and knew it was her, and knew where it was. And I explained Lori's spiritual gift. If you ever have the opportunity to sit with a psychic artist, an intuitive artist, or if you yourself are starting to have those abilities, I would definitely pursue it, because it's just been so amazing and life-changing for me. I was so appreciative of it. The final sketch was the one that I had to take a little bit of time, because I was trying to work out who it was. And I asked Lori, I said, do you hear anything? Did you get any clue with it? And she said, all I can hear is father and some other term I don't understand. So I just get father. So when I sat and meditated, I knew it wasn't my father at Plymouth Plantation. I knew this gentleman had never been my father. But one day, when I was sitting and meditating again, and auto writing and just doing my different spiritual practices, I asked my guides, who is this? I know him. Who is this? And then they said clear as day, and I could really hear them. It's the father of your children. And they superimposed what my former husband looks like in this lifetime. And they said spurned suitor. And I knew that term. I knew what that meant. Unlike Lori, she had heard it too, but she didn't know what the term meant. And this is a gentleman who courted me at Plymouth Plantation as, in that lifetime. And he had taken me on one, just a lovely horse-drawn wagon ride, through the cornfields, and wanted to court me and to marry me, but I turned him down. So I only met him that one time. But that was who it was. And I'm like, gosh, this is just amazing. This is just crazy. The number of people that were with me at Plymouth, and they then came into this lifetime to help me resolve this past life. Because we don't usually incarnate with a whole group of people from one shared past life. So I knew all these details, all this information, but I could not figure out my name. And I just wanted to know what my name had been in that lifetime. So I kept asking my guides, and they just kept saying, Anne, Anne. And I'm like, I know I came over on the Anne of London. I know the ship's name. What was my name? And I couldn't get it. So I get up one morning, it's a weekday, and I just have this urge to make crescent rolls. So I preheat the oven and put the rolls in the oven, and I check the time. It's like, okay, I got just enough time to go take my shower, and then I can take the rolls out of the oven. So I get into the shower, and I just got the shampoo on, and I'm talking with my guides and just asking them again and again, what was my name? Just help me understand. Why am I blocked on this? Just, can you please tell me my name? And instead, I hear just like this booming, check the rolls. And I'm like, oh my gosh, something's wrong. The rolls must be burning. The oven's on fire. Something's wrong. I shouldn't have been baking while I'm in the shower. And so I like grab a towel, got shampoo coming down in my eyes, run to the kitchen, and I look at it, and everything's fine with the oven. There's still 9 minutes on the timer. So I'm like, what is going on here? I'm kind of annoyed at this point. So I stomped back to the bathroom to finish washing my hair, and I just finished my shower. And being under, near water, by water is just a great way to really communicate with your guides. There's just something about the conductivity of water, being in nature, being by trees, in the woods, et cetera. It's just a great way to be able to clear your energy and have these conversations if you're newer to it and want to deepen it and have it be easier and more clear for you. So I asked them again. I'm like, okay, one more time. What was my name at Plymouth? What's the name of that heartbroken young ghost that was me? And they said, check the ship's rolls. And I'm like, ship's rolls? Oh, what are you saying? Are you saying there's lists of passengers? I hadn't known that. And I had no idea that these records would exist from that time period. And I already knew I had been on the Anne of London in 1623, and that was how I had come over to America. So my guides at that point said, we want you to Google, and you're going to look up who was on that ship, and you will find your name toward the end because it's alphabetic by last name, and it's the same first initial of your name now, Williams. So it's going to be a W. You're looking for a W, and you will find the name of the woman who became your mother, is how they express stepmother, who raised us. And you will find who she was the wife of, and you will find you five girls. You will find you and your five sisters. You are the second of the fifth. Like, whoa, that's wonderful. That's really specific. I will be very confident when I find this information. Because when I'm working a past life puzzle, I want the truth to come from my heart. I want it to come from within. I don't want to be influenced or confused by written records, by what's on the internet, by a TV show, a movie, a book, because, like I said, I don't want to be confused. So I very carefully looked because they gave me such specifics and I found it exactly there. Now I knew. And they also told me, and you'll get a good chuckle out of it, which I certainly did, because my name was Anne Warren and I would end up marrying Thomas Little. Anne, they told me multiple times, Anne, but I kept thinking they were saying the ship's name. It never crossed my mind that I could have the same name as the ship. So that's how they use this device of the rolls to get me to bake rolls and then to get through to me to check the ship's rolls. So I think our guides are just brilliant to try and get that communication through. So Anne Warren Little was my name, and I knew that would really help me to just be able to help her and to heal my energy from that lifetime. What happened was I came over as a 12-year-old girl with my sisters and my stepmother to go over and join my father at Plymouth. And I met the sea captain. I met Captain William Pierce. As I said, I'm young, I'm impressionable. Remember, it's colonial America, very Puritan, very protected, sequestered, isolated, young girls especially. But the minute I saw William and he spoke with us, he was going around speaking with all the passengers, learning our names, and just working to buoy our spirits on that long, miserable sea voyage. And when he heard, my stepmother introduced me as Anne, he just kind of joked and said, "Oh my goodness, the ship must be named for you." And he's just being very gallant. But the minute I saw him, my heart was just bursting open, and I'm hearing guides say, "This is your soulmate." To me, that meant this is the man you're going to love, who's going to love you, that you're going to marry. I was very literal about what that meant. I looked carefully at his ring finger. No ring. In my world, that meant not married, because everyone wore wedding rings, both women and men alike. But he did not, because he's a seaman, and I didn't know seamen don't typically wear anything on their hands or wrists because they can get caught on something, and it can be dangerous. They can get injured. They can be thrown off board even, so no ring. He's in his early 20s, early 30s. We then, all through my teens, while I'm at Plymouth, have this clandestine relationship. It was an abusive power relationship on his part. And the way he would see me again and find me again was he'd be bringing over a ship with more passengers, with supplies. He would always seek me out and find me in the trading post, and was able to, get me alone. I mean, yes, Abby's there too, but we'd also step outside and speak privately. This should not have been happening. And I never knew. And he's bringing me gifts, and he's just basking in, the adoration and the attention of this teenage girl. I never know in that lifetime that he's married and has children. and I'm misinterpreting the situation completely. I think this is courting. I think this is going to lead to marriage. And he thinks it's just having a conversation. So, our very last meeting in that lifetime, I was 17. My father had just died. Richard Warren died very suddenly. And we are just heartbroken as a family. And it's not only the emotional heartbreak, but it's a big question. Can we even stay at Plymouth? Because here's Elizabeth, my stepmother, with way too much to do, with 5 teenage um, daughters. We essentially become her daughters, and 2 young sons, because Richard and Elizabeth went on and had two little boys. So they're 3 and under. And how are we going to earn a living? How are we going to do what we need to do at Plymouth without the man of the house that does the farming and does these things? Because we're a very, very female family. So um, William Pierce came over to pay his respects for upon my father's death. And he said to Abby, it looks very quiet here in the trading post. I'm sure you can take care of this on your own. I want to just take Anne out for lunch. There's a beautiful spot I passed by, and I've got Arthur, the horse, at Plymouth Plantation. I've got Arthur with me. So, Anne, why don't you just grab your lunch? Because I always packed a lunch to go to the trading post for the day, and let's go. And so I went with them. And again, that would have ruined my reputation if anyone had seen us, probably my family's reputation. But I just so looked up to him, trusted him, loved him. I went with him. So we're sitting on a log. It's just lovely, little babbling brook. He's got some food. I've got some food. We're just talking. And I just started to feel some peace and a little bit of happiness for the first time since my father's death, because I was just very, very raw. And William hugs me, he kisses me. Again, this should not be happening. And I think he's going to ask Elizabeth for my hand in marriage. So when we go back to the trading post, I'm expecting him to go to my home. Instead, he gets on the horse and just says over his shoulder, I've got to get back to the ship, so I need to leave to do this and this before I get back on the ship. But I want you to know I'll be back for you, Anne. Wait for me. So I then overinterpret this through naivete, and upon my death in 1676 in King Philip's War, I then don't cross over because I'm waiting for William, because he never came back. I never saw him again after that encounter as a 17-year-old, and I never knew what happened to him. He actually died when I was about 30. Pirates set upon his ship down in the Caribbean, but I didn't know that. So there's no closure to it. I'm happy to say I did recover enough and did marry and have a very happy marriage with Thomas Little for about 40 years, and just had a large family, and just there was a lot of joy there too along the way. So the next thing that happens is I ask my former boyfriend in this lifetime, will you please do a ceremony with me? I think that's what's needed to get Anne to the light. Because I know her name, I know what happened, but she doesn't understand what happened. And we just need to explain it to her. And she will then be able to cross over, and we will make this right between us, the energy between the two of us over this matter. He readily agrees, which is so gracious, and says, like, I want to make it right. Anything I can do to help, absolutely. So we do that. The energy is palpable. There's 4 of us in the room. There's Anne, there's me, there's my former boyfriend, there's who he was as William Pierce. She's getting ready to go up to the light as we explain everything to her, can see it, feel it, sense it. And I'm telling her about the welcome home party, and everyone's been waiting for her, and that she's welcome to go and should go on up. But the minute I'm talking to her about the welcome party, my former boyfriend suddenly says, wait a minute, party. I'm hosting my own 60th birthday party next week, and you should come to that. I am so mad. I am really frustrated. I'm looking at him like, what is wrong with you? Why are you inviting a ghost to your birthday party? Don't you have enough people coming? I'm really annoyed. But the light just shuts down because the minute she hears that from him, she wants to go to the other party. And I didn't understand until we actually had that event why that needed to happen. What happens at the party? He's rented a private room. There's a large round table in it where you can squeeze in 12 or 13 people, but there's more like 25 people there. So we've got booths also nearby, and people are kind of going in and out of the room. So our guest of honor, our host, is very, very late to his own party because he's coming with his girlfriend, and she came by ferry and the ferry was delayed. So that gave an opportunity for the gal sitting right next to me, who I knew slightly. She stood up, introduced herself, and said she had dated the our host a few times, and they remained friends. And she brought a card for everyone to sign if it was pertinent and if they chose to. It was a very humorous card. It said, "From all your old girlfriends." And then it's got, women with canes and walkers and Roman ruins. So she passes it around the table. And I'd been noticing the party was disproportionately female, almost all women. There were just four men there, two of his friends and his two sons. All the rest were women. And I'm thinking, I have a feeling what's going to happen here. So person after person, woman after woman is signing the card. And so he literally threw a 60th birthday party for himself and invited all his old girlfriends. So when the guest of honor is finally there, um, someone suggested we stand up and introduce ourselves because we didn't know each other, because this is an unusual party, and just explain how we know the host. So just the way it went around the table, I'm dead last. When I stood up, I said, "I'm Wendy, and evidently I'm just one more poor little match girl." Double entendre to the fairy tale, as well as what I really meant was in this lifetime, we met via Match, via the online dating service. And that's how we had met almost everyone there. So the next thing that I did, and this was just spirit taking over, and guides had just engineered this for the healing that was so needed. The previous day, when I had meditated to be very clear in why I was going to this party and was I meant to, and why had Anne as a ghost been invited, she just had so much to say. And during my meditation, and said, "Get out a piece of paper, please write this down for me." So I had written, "Dear William" at the top of it. And it was everything she wanted to say to him in that lifetime and didn't get an opportunity to. And she had signed it from your old friend, Anne. So I had taken it to the party, not knowing, thinking, okay, that should be enough. It's just in my purse. It's here. It's written. That should be enough. But what I realized I could do, got the inspiration as I was standing there, was I simply said, "Anne couldn't be here in person, and she sent this roast of our host because he'd asked for roasts in lieu of gifts. And she has a roast that she asked me to read." So I read it to him. Everything was a double entendre that only he and William would understand, but was perfectly appropriate to read in public. And then I just folded up and gave it to him. I just sat down and I felt free of her for the first time in 300 plus years. And I knew that she'd forgiven him, forgiven herself, and I was going to be able to help her cross over to the light that night when I got home. To my surprise, he stood up and said, "I want to publicly apologize to Anne. She was very dear to me, very special to me. I did not treat her right. I was not in integrity with her, and I need to publicly apologize." And you could have just heard a pin drop in the room. And I just simply said, "I'll pass that on to Anne. I'm sure she knows." And that was the end of it. And then, so that's why she needed to go to that party. And this is one of the hallmarks of a ghost that might feel they've been wronged, because there just can be this excessive emotion going on, and that was what was needed. So, how was the soul retrieval accomplished? How did I heal this very complex past life that was so negatively impacting me now and has impacted me through other lives in between? His saying, my former boyfriend saying to me, I believe you, when I explained this long, complex story to him at dinner in the Mexican restaurant, and I want to help you and let's get this resolved. That was huge. Also, the two ceremonies to get her to the light, the public apology. I also did a past life regression in June of 2013, and that's where a lot of the detail came through. Normally, you don't have details like this, nor do you need them to be able to resolve a past life. It can just be a very short impression, just a few words, and it can just, you just then are able to let go of that energy and remember that was then and this is now, and get grounded and centered in your lifetime now and let that go. Let the past be in the past where it belongs. But that past life regression turned out to be for two. It was very much for my cat also. My wonderful cat Midnight, who I had for 20 years in this lifetime, was my cat at Plymouth Plantation, and he was there when I died, and he was still upset about that. So it was just kind of remarkable. Writing and story was definitely a big part of it. Writing that as a book. I wrote it as historic fiction, but it is just straight from what Anne told me. And it was just like being her typist. And being able to get that all down because the energy was just so flowing. And much of it was detail from the past life regression, and I just included that verbatim. So writing and story and being able to visit in person and to fly out from Seattle and go to Plymouth and to Marshfield, Massachusetts the next summer. I had written the book, but I hadn't published it because it just felt like there was something more. So I went on out and was able to visit. The cast of characters, the people that were in that lifetime and in this lifetime too, is remarkable. Again, I so appreciate them because they wanted to help me resolve this and clean this up, and I just hadn't been able to. So Richard Warren, my father at Plymouth, is my current father in this lifetime. My mom, Elizabeth, was my stepmother, Elizabeth Walker Warren. And there you get my cat's tail going right across the screen. And if there's an asterisk, it means same name in both lifetimes. My stepmom in this lifetime was my mother then. So my mom and stepmom switched roles. My youngest daughter was my oldest sister. My former husband was my spurned suitor. So there's the Mayflower replica. And here is who the original Mayflower passengers were. What's remarkable is 102 were down to 57 a year later. Just deaths from a lot of disease, malnutrition, etc. So this was a really courageous group that came on over. I had the good fortune to go to Plymouth Plantation, the Living History Museum. It's beautiful. It's right on the Atlantic. I even found my former home. I knew immediately when I was there, I'm like, oh, it's the last one on the left. And the museum historians who are in full character, don't ask them where the bathroom is because they won't know what you mean. Don't ask them to take a picture of you with your phone. They stay in that time period, but they confirmed and said, oh, yes, this home is the home of Richard and Elizabeth Warren. They had a large family. And it just really, really filled my heart. It was a big deal to get to go there. So, what leads to ghosting and how can you help? Anyone is able to connect, to counsel, to uplift. Ghosts are so lonely. Their vibration can really, really drop, and they really need help to be able to get to the light the longer they've been here. So just helping them visualize the light and to know that they deserve to go. And we'll have that welcome home party. But it is their free will, and you may need to repeat the process. You don't have to do it yourself if you're not comfortable. You can get help if needed. Call on their higher self, their guides, angels, God, whoever feels right to you to help them. Here's my contact information because you certainly can also get a person in the physical, someone like me that's a Ghostbuster. and has helped many, many ghosts cross over. So you're welcome to take a picture of my contact information. And I made my book just $1.99 for you today. So it's on Amazon on Kindle if you'd like to read more of the details, because people who are drawn to this talk, who knows, you may have a past life in colonial times too, or may have a ghost situation that you've been working with or will work with. The final surprise that I got when I was visiting Plymouth was I was guided to the old Winslow burying ground in Marshfield, adjacent town to Plymouth. I knew Thomas, my husband, and I had moved there. What I did not expect was when I went to the burial grounds, there was this commemorative large stone thanking the founders of Marshfield. And there I found our names. So Thomas Little and wife Anne. And that was just such a lovely, lovely surprise. So I look forward to your questions. Let me stop my share here and see if there are any questions or comments or feedback.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. What a fascinating and beautiful presentation that was. So
Thank you.
if anyone has questions for Wendy, please put them into the chat and I'll be happy to ask them for you. Um, so I just wanted to give a comment first while people are thinking of their questions, but your sharing of your story, which was so beautiful, resonated very, very deeply with me because I too had a very, very strong past life that pieces came together, and it took many years actually until I had a strong experience where it was a past life where I was a man and I had been murdered. And my soul was not at peace about why I'd been murdered, but the pieces came to me sort of like you described it, how it comes with a jigsaw puzzle. And then once I met the people and I understood the dynamics, and then I realized, oh, it turned out it was all about money. What else is new? Love or money. And then I actually had an experience of that this man, or this soul fragment, if we want to call it, that used to be me, could rest now. He could now rest in peace. And it was like, haven't been haunted by it ever since. So I'm just sharing this as a confirmation that I think what you described is so powerful and certainly resonated with my truth. So
Oh, that's wonderful, Yvonne.
so I'm going to ask you a couple questions while we're waiting.
Certainly.
So for you personally, what do you think was really some of the biggest keys that helped you to really accomplish the soul retrieval and finally completely let go from her, that part of the past? What were the biggest keys for you?
As you can see, I was given so much help with this, which I truly appreciated. But the breakthrough for me was having the past life regression, because
Mhm.
just to experience the joy that I felt again as a young girl, to reunite with my father after 3 years apart, just I just burst into tears, and it just just showed me that uh, wonderful relationship that we have this lifetime that's been hard earned. Uh,
Mhm.
and I know you can relate to that, Yvonne, and others likely can too. But just, going through those emotions again and hearing myself on the recording when I first realized that William was always married, never available, and really playing me for a fool. It just explained the anger, the heartbreak, because anger is a secondary emotion, what's underneath it that we don't want to look at. And I mean, it definitely had that aspect of hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And I mean, imagine us in this lifetime trying to work through this sort of big past life energy. So grateful that we met, so grateful that we were able to just resolve things, because getting to peace and often forgiveness, it's such a gift to yourself. And I don't think we can be peaceful until we've just let go of things, and it just changes everything and lets the joy come back in.
Mhm. Awesome. So true. So true. We have a question here from Carol. Carol says, I'm new to understanding spirit guides. Can you say something about that and any books you can recommend to learn more about spirit guides?
Certainly, I believe we all have spirit guides. We have a higher self. We have our own wonderful soul that's certainly guiding us. But I believe we also have these wise beings who love us unconditionally and are, you can think of them as coaches, mentors, but they just know everything about us. And we pick them, we choose them to be our guide, because incarnating onto earth into these bodies, it's hard. Yes, it's wonderful, it's amazing. I mean, look at the beauty of the planet we live on, but it's also got some real challenges to it. So those guides are just there for us, to help us, and being able to communicate with them changed my life. It was just absolutely, I didn't realize how alone I had felt until then. And being able to clearly hear your guides, or you might be seeing, feeling, sensing, because everyone takes in information in different ways. We have different psychic clairs. I cannot think of a specific book anymore, but just simply, there's so many on Amazon. So just trust yourself, clear your energy, and just go in and ask to be shown the best book for you regarding how to work with spirit guides.
Mhm.
There might also be a podcast. There might be something, a how-to, YouTube, etc. So just ask to be guided, and you'll find that information. Or other people on the panel may have some great, favorite books. Just no
Mhm.
titles coming to me right now.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Wendy. We have a question from Dana, and Dana would like to know, what kind of work do you do when you're working with clients? Do you do past life regression or perhaps help them get information? What would clients expect if they're coming to you?
Certainly. So, what I do as a past life energy healer, I work with clients exclusively via Zoom, and I record it for them as an audio file, because there's just healing energy coming through during the entire session. And some of the things that we do is past life healing. It might be via a formal past life regression, which is a longer session. It might be me, with their permission, working as a past life reader for them. But no, that it absolutely will be healed. It won't be just, you're not going to, past lives are not the doom and gloom report. So it's not going to be, like you said, Yvonne, it's like, oh my goodness, I was a man and I was murdered in this past life. And often people can shy away from doing this work because they think they're just going to see a really challenging death scene, or what if I was a horrible person, is another common concern. So we just heal whatever energy, and you get insights and you get inspiration. The prompt I use is, now we're going to go to the time and place with the most healing and information and uplift for your life today. So that's just how it's structured. I'm often helping people reunite with their guides, and get in communication and learning how to do that. I'm often working with their chakras and just helping heal their energy in that manner. Different ascended masters, different angels, different beings of light that absolutely have that client's highest and best interest at heart, can come in and be helping them in different ways. And also, if people are doing the longer sessions, they can write a series of questions, what questions they have about their health, about their wealth or career, about their relationships, or anything else. And at the end of the process, we're raising our vibration and frequency, and we're crossing over up to the light. We go up to the place of all knowledge, the Akashic records, and their guide is waiting with their book of life, and they get the answers to their important questions or requests. So that is a big deal too. There's sometimes a reunions with loved ones, but it's more often the things I've been describing.
Awesome. Thank you, Wendy. We have another question now from Bethany. And Bethany would like to know, how do you tell the difference between clairaudience guidance or message and your own strong thoughts?
Yes, that's a great question. Clairaudience to me, that clear hearing from higher vibrational energy, it's peaceful, it's loving, it's information you didn't know or that might surprise you, versus you absolutely can learn to hear your own busy brain, the mental thoughts, or the ego kind of interfering, and it's fearful, it's stuck in a loop, it's like a little hamster on the wheel. That more of that versus the other, it's just calm and it's flowy, versus the of when we're getting in the thought loops.
Mhm.
So that's how some of the ways you can tell the difference.
Awesome. Thank you. Carol has an interesting question. She says, I want to learn more about the relationship between chronic illness and ghosts not being able to cross over. She says, what are your thoughts, and are there good books to read on this?
Don't know any good books on that. That's a great question. I've not heard that question before. Ghosts, by their nature, are low vibration because they're earthbound. They have not crossed over and reunited with their higher self aspect and their soul, and they haven't debriefed with their guides. So there absolutely is a correlation with chronic illnesses, chronic fatigue, different things like that, pain, fibromyalgia, different types of chronic pain, anxiety, depression, kind of all the biggies. Past life energy definitely can be a driver in those, and we're able to tease out and figure out, because it's your higher self and your guides that take you to the most important, the key salient past life or past lives during the session that's going to improve and enhance your life now. So they're able to figure that out. And then when we find the past life or past lives that caused it, and just go through and learn and debrief what we need to and heal it and release it, then that can make a remarkable difference in the lifetime now. There's physical healing, mental, emotional, just all types of healing that comes through.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question comes from Carolina, and she'd like to know, have you connected with your grandpa, who was calling you Anne, to find
Yes.
out how he knew you needed to hear this message about the ship?
Yes, that's such a great question. I think we all get these intuitive flashes. I would not have described my grandfather during this lifetime as being spiritually awake or spiritually aware. But I think he was just compelled to say it to me, and he knew it was important. And I mean, we can just deliver messages like that and then kind of go, oh, where'd that come from? We all do that from time to time, and that was one of those moments. And then he was a spirit guide to me, for a time period once he had passed over. So I think that was why, he was able to remind me of that moment back in the late 70s, early 80s, when he had told me that message. To always
Awesome.
remember, I came over on the Mayflower ship, Annie, she who can't learn her name, remember her name.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question comes from Tim, and he'd like to know, do you think that we can integrate these past lives and become fully at peace with them through meditation?
Yes, meditation is powerful. Absolutely. Whatever your spiritual process is, some people do it via the dream time. Some people do it via auto writing and just clearing their mind and energy and letting the information come through from their higher self and guides. Some people are powerful meditators. Others, it's yoga. It's whatever your spiritual practice is. But sometimes people do benefit from having help. I clearly did. I clearly needed assistance with it. And past life regression is just simply a powerful modality for being able to put puzzle pieces together if you're not able to do it yourself through all your own processes.
Awesome. Okay, our next question comes from Queen, who says, I have felt stuck, misunderstood, different, and targeted. In the past few years, I had a strong sense of going through karma. I unsuccessfully found someone local to do past life regression, as well as other spiritual healers. So I guess that means so far he or she has not been successful.
Okay.
What advice do you have for someone like me who feels stuck and feels unable to move forward on my own?
Don't give up. Keep trying different things. You are so valued and respected and needed and wanted on this planet at this time. And there can be difficult, just sticky energy, victim energy, just feeling not appreciated, not understood, and just loving ourselves and really taking great care of ourselves is so underrated. It's not being selfish. We're here to learn more about ourselves and our beautiful souls and our soul's journey, and to be able to help and to help others certainly too. But just keep trying, keep asking your higher self and guides, and know that that process is so worth it as you persist with it and as you continue to value yourself and know that when you're ready, there's suddenly going to be that right person, and you'll be able to get that assistance.
Mhm. Awesome. I have a question for you that's a little bit different. It's about soul contracts, because you said you came to understand that you had a soul contract with someone to spiritually wake you up. So,
Yes.
how did you discover this contract? And from your understanding, what are some of the common soul contracts that people might have?
Yes. Yes, I'll give some examples. My soul contract with my former husband, who I was with for 18 years, we had a soul contract to meet and to marry and to have beautiful children together. And we do have two lovely daughters, late 20s, early 30s. So that was the soul contract, and that we would just progress through that time together. And then, so that's a common contract, is to meet and marry someone and to have children. Some of my the three key soul contracts with the former boyfriend, the first being to wake me up spiritually, and the second was we had an agreement that he would break my heart repeatedly until I stood in my power fully without abusing it. That is a brilliant but very difficult contract. No one wants or deserves to have their heart broken repeatedly, nor should we allow that to be done to us. So I had to stand up and get fully in my power without abusing it, because those were the two areas where I had the most karma. One was for being a heartbreaker. So I got to experience that fully again in this lifetime. And the other was for having abused my power. So in this lifetime, for a long time until I met him, I was just shirking. I would not do any public speaking. I was not publishing anything. And he helped me step to the plate in all those areas. So
Mhm.
that was an important contract. And then our third contract was to help other people with their spiritual awakening.
Mhm. Awesome. Which you are clearly doing now. That's
Right.
wonderful. So this will be our final question now, is that we've had a couple people that want to know how can they contact you if they wish to get some counseling and support. Somebody gave your website,
Perfect.
wendyRoseWilliams.com. Is
That's the
that how
perfect
they
way.
should, is that
That's
what
the
you'd like?
perfect way. Yes, there's a contact me via wendyrosewilliams.com. That would be perfect.
Okay. So, with that, I'm going to say thank you, Wendy, for an absolutely fabulous presentation. It really, really resonated with everyone here. There are all sorts of comments in the question and the chat. So, thank you very, very much.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you, Yvonne, and everyone at SAI, all you wonderful volunteers for the beautiful service that you're giving.
Well, thank you. It's been wonderful.